It's Groundhog's Day. The same day keeps repeating over and over. Oh my gosh. Different events, but same day. Today is November 9th, 2024. So this is about composting. Okay. So composting, you can see here. All right. So that's compost. That's my compost. What I do is I'll take some bark, scrape it up off the ground here. I got many truckloads that I put all over my property. And so I'll take some of the surface off and get down to the mycelium where the bacteria is growing, the white stuff. Really good. That makes good soil. Oh, look at those big, huge mushrooms. I wonder if I can eat them. They look like steak. Steak mushrooms. I have to check those out. I might be able to eat those. I don't think I've ever seen those before. Anyway, that's probably because of the bark I've grown. I've got all this bark everywhere, so I'm getting strange mushrooms from that mycelium bacteria. So that's what you want. You want that bacteria growing. So what I do here is I take a layer of greens, like could be from my garden. Like here's stuff from my garden. This looks like zucchini leaves right there, zucchini leaves. And so I'll take that and put a layer of stuff like that. It's called greens, could be grass clippings, anything like that. And then when I get about 4 inches or so of that kind of stuff, I'll put down I'll scrape this stuff back and get down to the more broken up stuff. You can see some white. That's the mycelium bacteria. And so I'll dig that up, a big area, and I'll get a whole bunch of that. And then I'll put that on top of the greens, along with some pieces of bark, and do about 4 inches of that or so. And then throw more green stuff over time, on there. And then do it again, get some more good stuff, from my underneath my bark. And so I just keep laying it like that, just keep layering and layering and layering. So now I've got this big compost pile, and I'll be able to use that probably in spring for pots or refurbishing my soil and stuff. And so it's really a good process. This is over here. This is from last year. Same thing. All this is from last year. So I started this mostly from leaves. You can see it's nice and dark. Really good soil. Yeah. This was at one point. This was just leaves, nothing else. Just leaves, nothing else. And so, what I'll do is sometimes I'll mix some of the bark into that soil I just showed you, and I'll use that for potting stuff or throwing in my garden. You obviously don't want to use that for starting. You don't want to mix your bark. You don't want to put bark into your starters, right? So you'll take the more fine stuff. I can run that through a sifter, and so there's no bark or big pieces, and I'll put those in little containers, and I'll put my starters in there. So I run it through this sifter that I made. Here's my sifter. I put this over a wheelbarrow. So I take a wheelbarrow, and I take it and put it right over my wheelbarrow, like so. All right, got my little sides there. This is just scrap wood, scrap screen that I had. So I'll just take that, put it over my wheelbarrow, shovel some dirt in there, move it around, get some nice filtered dirt. This is 1/4 inch mesh, and then I take the bottom. It's really nice and fluffy when I'm done, and I'll take my starter cups for my seeds, and then I'll take that and I'll mix that with sometimes some of my vermiculture soil. That's another podcast. And so then I've got the bark over here. So when I'm ready to replenish, the surface bark, I'll just replenish, throw some more bark, over where I took the old bark out, and just keep replenishing. I got all that stuff from the Eugene local garden center. They chop down trees that fall down and stuff around here, and they run it through the wood chipper, and they just take it to the garden center in these big, huge piles, and I just take my truck over there and load up for free. And I come here and I get plenty, and I stock it up for future use. And when I get weeds and stuff like that, so when I get a pile of, because I trim my raspberries, I got hundreds of raspberries and they grow pretty quick. So when I trim those, I'll take them back here and put them in a pile. Then I have this wood chipper, does 2 inches, and run them through the wood chipper, and I get a nice big pile of, compost. And then I just throw it right on that. And so I just keep that party going. So I used to have big, huge piles of weeds that I would cut here and cut that. I had these big, huge piles, and one day, a little bit too much wine one night, I'm gonna burn that stuff down. So I don't drink anymore, by the way, not even a little bit. That party's over. So I started that fire. It got so big, it went up and caught the top of this big, huge tree on fire and burned the top of it. It was on fire. And it burned part of my fence down over here. Don't ever drink and start a fire. So got my hose and I put out my fence and sprayed up there as high as I could, and it went out. I didn't start a forest fire, but I got close. And so, yeah. People who are drunk do foolish things. That's why you shouldn't drink. Get stupid. So that's why I don't drink. I have what's called dyslexia. So people with dyslexia should never drink. That's another podcast too. And yeah, I was tested, and yeah, that's what I got. I was born with it. It's a form of autism. So you can, there's areas, once you set up the base in your area, you can get compost from many areas. And so I've got those two composts right there. There's 2 of them that are broken down, ready for whatever I want when I want it. I don't have to buy it, right? I don't have to buy it. I just make it, right? Homegrown. And whenever I need wood chips, free, got those ready to go. And if I ever need more wood chips, I got wood chips all along between my raspberries, right? In between my walnut and hazelnut trees, right? So yeah, once you get the base set down for composting, it's a lot of work, but it's good for the body, get you pumped up and really physically active. I was putting in 14, 16 hours a day, just getting all that stuff prepped. And then I also built this other thing so when I'm doing a lot of sifting of soil, what I do is I got this machine that I just built it from scrap wood, right? And I made it so that I can do like lots of soil, so I don't have to sift. So here, you can see here, I designed this. So I plugged that in. It's just a jigsaw, and so plug that in. It shakes this thing back and forth. I use this thing like crazy. It sure made the job a lot faster than that little shaker over there. And so yeah, it just shakes back and forth. I have buckets that I put underneath. Put them underneath here, 2 buckets, and all of it falls down in there. And I got nice. I can do anything I want. Put it in pots or just whatever, right? So just a regular old jigsaw. And I put this plastic cover over here so it protects from the rain, right? So the rain doesn't get on my mota. rain on mota is bad. So I keep this covered and wired down so that the wind can't like take it away and destroy it. So yeah, it's got it wired down here like that. You can see that, and it stays pretty good. And so, yeah, then I make my own liquid fertilizer. That's my own liquid fertilizer. I make that homemade. Hey, it came from the plants, and then I ate it, and it came from me, and I'm just giving it back to them. It's Ura fertilizer, and so I got 3 buckets of that. I let it distill for about a year. Right, and once it's distilled for about a year, it looks kind of like this: black goo, black gold. 100% organic. And I throw leaves and twigs and branches and green clippings or whatever I've got. I throw that in there with the Ura. You let that break down for about a year. Take a couple teaspoons, tablespoons, whatever, to a gallon of water, and that's your fertilizer. Got all the stuff you're gonna need. My garden does great, right? So that's basically the fertilizer when you buy a fertilizer at the store. It's a similar microbe breakdown process. It's about microbes that create an environment where they die and they eat and they die and they eat and they leave behind all those important vitamins and minerals and all those goodies, right? So that the plants love, and then you just stay organic. And that's kind of it for the composting stuff, I think. Yeah, it's my DIMPS process. What is DIMPS? DIMPS with an F. I think it's an F. DIMPS. Self, yeah. Do it my freaking self. So there you go. That's composting, and just think about the process. You want in any organic matter, you want it. You got to give it time for it to break down and for that healthy bacteria, because you got what's called the good, bad, and the ugly bacteria. The ugly bacteria is the kind that stinks. It smells rotten. Yeah, you don't want to put that on your plants because that'll kill your plants. And then you got the good, which is that white stuff that I was showing you. That's something that actually adheres to the roots of the plants, and as it breaks down, continues to break down the soil, it actually feeds the roots of the soil. I mean, feeds the roots of your plants from the soil. It's a symbiotic relationship, right? So you want the good bacteria in your soil, and this is the process that I use to get the good stuff and keep the ugly away. So don't want any rotted stuff. That's called bad bacteria. Kind of like your gut. In our guts, we have what's called a microgut biome, and a similar process. You've got decomposition that's going in there every time we eat something. It's breaking it all those trillions and trillions and trillions of little guys are in there, breaking down our food. And if we're eating healthy, then you have the healthy kind of microbes in your gut, and your inflammatory markers go maybe to 0. But if we're eating unhealthy food, processed foods and stuff like that, what happens then is the opposite. The kind of bacteria that flourishes then are the kinds of bacteria in our gut that actually increase our inflammatory markers, because what they give off from their digestive process is inflammatory to us. So we want to keep the higher good bacteria in our gut and the bad ones down. And then, of course, you got some middle bacteria. Our bodies can negotiate those. So, yeah, I like your gut. Good, bad, and the ugly. Yeah, I keep the ugly at bay. So there you go. So what would I say this was? This was November 9th, Saturday, 2024. And the ducks start at 4. Super duck. So, all right. Still, have a good day. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye now.